This is Fam Electric Ghost, and this is our Studio A. And we're going to walk around our studio and kind of show people what we've got. So we've got the Studio Electronics microphone on a stand with a shield. And we've got that connected to our VTO3 Roland vocal transformer. And this is how we create Josephine Electric. If we look at it, we tend to run it on a higher pitch. And we've been playing a lot with the megaphone setting and the mix balance kind of totally at the top. And we've been using the robot command and the capability lately. This is what we use instead of a DAW. This is our Zoom R24 4-track recorder. And we also use these Galaxy Audio headphones for our actual playback. So we have remote playback going on without wires, wireless playback. We use, this is one of the transmitters for the wireless system from Audio Technica. This is our Roland Juno Gi that we use as our primary keyboard. So when you see the Ghost playing, this is our primary keyboard connected by MIDI to a bunch of things. Our secondary keyboard is the Roland JDXI that we originally used the vocoder on this to create Josephine. And we also used the drum machine built into it. And if we look at this, if we can get a good look at it, you can kind of see the drums. There's multiple profiles. You can see a TR-909 in there. We can also, scroll through it, and we could see some other things. You got an AR-808, you can see. But we trigger that JDXI drum machine with our Arturia Beatstep Pro, which we see on our rig. And if we see, the full picture of the rig that most people see, there's this kind of side view. And I'm able to trigger patterns on the Beatstep Pro. Is typically, multiple projects in here that we have. We got sequencer 1, sequencer 2, and then we've got the drum machine. And we typically run this in a project mode. You can kind of see it rolling through, its patterns, and you can control the steps. They're on each pattern, and you have these rotary controllers that you can actually use the knobs to adjust things. We've got it right now connected to our System 1M that we have in this rack. And the System 1M is, connected by MIDI, traditional MIDI, to the Arturia Beatstep Pro. And the Beatstep Pro uses a different type of MIDI implementation. It's a conversion to almost like a CV conversion type of wire. You can see the MIDI wire at the end of it. We got our lighting system that we use, the LED lighting system. You can kind of see it there. This is our MX1 mixer that we use to plug in by USB audio, the Juno GI, the MX1, the System 1M, the Arturia Beatstep Pro, all these things. The Arturia Beatstep Pro is getting powered from the MX1. You can see the MX1 has a lot of different capabilities on the multiple channels. You can apply effects, and you can apply beat effects. And also, if you look at it, there's actually a sequencer. There's a beat effect sequencer with 16 steps that you can run. We have the delay, the filter, the scatter, the flanger, the big crush, and the roll. You can have these in multiple combinations. You can set effects to have different types of effects. You can see, on the flanger, there's multiple effects, up to 8 effects for each effect. So if you go into the filter, you look at the filter, there's multiple filters. Usually there's 8 filters, 8 particular variations to every effect. And if you look at here, we have a delay, we have filter, scatter, flanger, bit crush, and a roll. And then you have the ability to mute tracks with these mute buttons. Right now we've got physically connected like our Moog, Mother 32 and DFAM being physically connected. And we've also got our little trick here is that we actually use this mixer to take monophonic signals and then output them in stereo. So we'll output them in these two lines, the two wires you see right here that I'm focusing on. Those get output to the actual, we go back here to the Zoom R24, the lines coming into the Zoom R24, and when we record, we can do, you know, the different inputs. So we have input 1, 2, 3, 4. Last night we had done a recording where we had gotten up to inputs 3 and 4, and those are coming directly from the MX1. And if you look on, this actually records to, the Zoom R24 records to a SD card, and right now there's no card in the system. And it's an old school type of system, but I like having the faders, and we also have a drum machine built in here with a sample that you can pull off a little USB stick. And we look at our, you know, our VTO3 again. We've got a VTO4 coming, but we've got this connected to the stereo electronics microphone that we've been using to great effect. There's a good shot of it. So we move back. We've got our System 1M, which is a really interesting analog behavioral modeling synth. And you have the ability on this synth to actually do CV implementation, which is pretty cool. So you can actually use CV wires like here, and you can actually, on a digital synth, actually have CV like a full analog. So you can actually do different routings. Here's just an example, which is pretty cool. Now the System 1M has a pretty cool structure. You know, we've got an LFO with a lot of different waveforms that you've got here. You've got a random, you've got, you know, all these different choices. You got to control the pitch. You can do the fade time and the filter and the rate and the amp. And you've got oscillator 1 and oscillator 2. You've got a plug out button to be able to pop this into a different plug out, which it can become a different synth. Where right now is just in the bass mode of it. So he's a 2 oscillator synth. Got the ability to do CV. You got the mixer module, and it's pretty interesting what you can do here. You know, even in oscillator 2s, you can control, you know, how you're gonna do the modulation. You can do manual, LFO, envelope, and 3 different types of envelopes and a sub oscillator. We also have the ability to do a sync on the oscillators. We can fine tune them. We can put a color on them. This is similar to like the System 1 and the System 8 has this kind of structure. It looks very similar. This is like the initial kind of view of what a System 1, System 8 looks like. So we have also got, you know, the filter section and the amp section. You have a high pass filter and a low pass filter you can control by pressing this in or out. You have low pass cutoff and high pass filter cutoff. And you've got the faders for the envelopes, which is really cool. So you can actually see the attack, decay, sustain, release. And you can see the kind of flow of what the waveform would look like. And because of faders, you can kind of shape it, which I find very useful because my other synths don't have that kind of shaping for that. Well, I mean, I guess my Arturia has the shaping for that. But then you have the USB MIDI here connected. We have an amp crusher that's built in. And we've got a delay, a timing, and a reverb. We use this up for a lot of atmospheric effects. And then we go to our really cool implementation that we got this there. This is an Arturia 6U Eurorack. In our 6U Eurorack, we've got a Moog Mother 32. And we've got it connected with CV to our Matt's utility module for Make Noise. and we've got a lot of different routings going on. Then we've got a really cool Make Noise Morphagene, which is an awesome sampler. Allows you to rip samples up to like over 3 minutes. You can do a lot of really cool things with this. We've been taking a lot of Family Electric Ghost songs and actually playing the filter. If you look at the central control knob here, this knob allows you to change the speed of your sample. And then you can kind of morph it with this morph button. You can organize it. You can do all kinds of cool time shifting and slides and splicing into pieces. And it's just a very cool machine. It's got a little micro USB here. And then you use that to save your samples. We've got a Make Noise kind of routing system here that allows you to route different CV connections all over the Eurorack. And then we got the Math Utility module, which is an awesome module. You can run cycles of multiple types of modulation, logarithmic and exponential. You can route multiple synths into here. We've got Mother 32 coming in here. And we were playing with the Math module with our other Moog. So in here, we've got a Moog with an overlay for the tribal drums for a DFAM. DFAM is a drummer from another mother. And it's a semi-modular analog percussion synth. And what's cool with the overlays, you can actually look at the detail. You can actually, the patches, it comes with patches, and the patches are on overlays. So if we look at another patch, which we'll put over on the bottom here, we got a patch here for a kick bass snare. This is really old school. You can see it's got the settings marked like an SAT type of document, like a key punch card. And when you overlay it, you can see how you're supposed to use the patch bay. Even it has like lines telling you which patches to use. And I took a bass level concept for this, but my treble drums, you can see I'm not using exactly what the settings are. I kind of changed it a bit. This synth is really interesting, how it works. If you kick it off, you can see it flashing through the patterns. We're not using any sound from this synth right now. But it is very powerful, and you can do a lot of really cool things. What I would like to do is do the sequence pitch mod. You can see you can go, VCO 1 and 2, or just, the middle toggle. You can toggle this button to go up to VCO 1 and 2. You can have it off, or you can have it just VCO 2. And so it gives you a lot of control over the oscillators. So we have 2 oscillators here, and you're able to, do the combination. What I found is flipping this switch on the VCO 1 and 2 can actually significantly change the sound. And when you're recording the way I do in a stream of consciousness type of recording, if you let the Zoom R24 just play, and you play the filters on this, like you play with the cutoff, you play with the decay and the VCF and noise levels, you can do a lot of really cool things. Now the sequencer on this is a controlled voltage sequencer. There's no MIDI. And how you use it is you actually control the pitch of every step, and there's only 8 steps. And when you control that pitch, it changes the note, the actual, like if it's A, B, or C, whatever, it's the note scale. It's the actual tonality of the note. And then you can also change the velocity on this line. But if you fool around with the frequency of the VCOs, the frequency affects the pitch. And so you can actually and the velocity affects it all. And so everything going on here actually can be tuned at a very minute level, and it will have a very significant impact on the sound. And then because of the patch bay, you can do a lot of cool things with the patch bay. You can see how extensive it is. It's not as extensive as the Mother 32 patch bay, which is a lot more going on. And the Mother 32, if we go back to that, it has a sequencer that can be controlled by MIDI, and it has a little keyboard. This is actually a keyboard. It equates to a piano. And these are like the black keys. And you can actually play notes manually on this thing, which I've done to pretty good effect. And it's a very cool synth. I've been using it for a long time. There's a lot of things you can do with it. So in this application within the 6U, which if you take a look at the 6U, it's a pretty cool setup. If you look on the sides, it's got the wood end cheeks. It's got the power module already built into it. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty good machine. And then you also have, you know, our Arturia Mini Brute 2S, which has its own patch bay and its own unique way of building sounds. Like the oscillator mixer is very interesting in the implementation of how you do the waveforms. But this is like our first video for this. We're going to end it here and we'll do some more later. But thank you for watching and we're going to push this out. Thanks.